Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 406, recorded live on Saturday, November 14th. We're having a grand old time of that. So sorry for the delay, folks. Lost a couple of our guests. They had some stuff come up and weren't able to join us, so we kind of retooled the show, got a couple new guests last minute. Thanks again for those guys for joining us. And we're still going to kind of talk about what we're going to talk about. So our guests this week, our new person, we have Antha. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick? Make sure you turn off the mute button.
There we go. Sorry about that. My name's Antha. I'm a 10-year player of DDO. I'm on Kyber, and I'm the guild leader of Utopia.
It's a good guild. I've run into them off and on over the years. We've also got from YouTube, Axel.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome back. And from DDO Players News, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. This week's screenshot, an airship sails in the Maybar sky in the 246th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Nervision, for sending in this cool screenshot. I think there should be like a requirement of names that they actually be pronounceable in English or some sort of language, or at least like get phonetics with them. That'd be great. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next Saturday in the morning, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com. We also have a calendar there you can subscribe to. It's pretty slick. It gives you bonus days and sales as well. On the podcast this week, not a whole lot of news. We got a little bit that we'll share, some community news, but we're mostly going to spend our time talking about festivals. We were going to do this as a debate, but because we have people who weren't really prepared to talk about it as a debate, we're just going to kind of talk about the festivals. And someone a while back had asked for tips and tricks for getting through some of the festivals. So we're going to talk about those, and in no particular order, because we're pretty much just going off of a list. And maybe let's just start off first. What's your kind of general feel for festivals, special events in DDO? Do you like them? Are they kind of annoying? Do you kind of ignore them? Do you want more? Just kind of give us a general idea of where you stand on those.
Well, I can say I always like them. I always enjoy them. Sometimes in DDO, it gives you that mix-up, something a little different to do.
I do enjoy them, but sometimes I don't enjoy the lag that is associated with them, depending on the festival. But overall, I think I enjoy them. And I agree, too, it does kind of break things up. It makes things a little different than just your standard, go into this dungeon, do this quest, come back out type thing.
I enjoy them as well. Breaks up the questing a little bit, and there's always an item or something I need on one of my characters.
Yeah, I think they're kind of fun. They're a little distracting. Some of them have been really interesting and engaging. It's not a recurring one, but the assault on Stormreach, the invasion of the marketplace, was pretty fun and generated a lot of buzz and excitement. Although I hear permadeath characters were scared of the market for many years to come. So I like them, most of them, and it's kind of a fun little side thing. Although I do say I would tend to favor the ones that you don't have to go out of your way to participate in, just as a general rule of thumb, or at least ones that aren't as involved. So we'll start with Festivult, which is probably the next one we'll see. Usually comes around the holidays, kind of December, mid-December to early January is typically when it comes. And what this is you'll see coins dropping in chests, bronze, silver, and gold coins, and then you turn them into the Jester of Festivult, who I am sure it is no coincidence looks kind of like Santa Claus. And you turn in the coins, and he gives you goodies in return. So what are some tips, tricks, and just general thoughts that you guys have about this festival?
Well, the good thing about this one is, like you mentioned, Patrick, you don't have to go out of your way to participate in it. because you collect the coins just as part of your normal questing. So it's a nice little bonus in that way. And the cookies you can get, I don't know that a lot of them are particularly like great to have in terms of a min-max power perspective, but they're just fun. It's just fun. You get the cookies, you mess around with them. I enjoy it.
Antha or Draculetta?
Well,
like,
go ahead.
like you said, you don't have to go out of your way to do this one. I think I usually save all the cookies, usually for when I TR. Some of them work pretty well. I think there was a Whale of the Banshee there for a little while. And the Death Ward cakes are really useful. But if you're going to loot it, I recommend something with a lot of chests.
Yeah, I think some of those cookies, I know coming, from me as a newer player perspective, I think some of those cookies are really handy to have. The Remove Fear, for example, the Death Ward cookie as well would be another example. There is the cupcake that you can heal light wounds. That's not the greatest, but it's not bad to have. It's always nice, I think, as a newer player to have that extra little bit of healing. In case you get, into a situation where you might need a little healing. Hey, look at this. I have a cupcake I can eat.
Yeah, I tend not to use the cakes a whole lot in my normal gameplay. Generally, lower levels, they tend to be really good. The cakes also change every year a little bit. Not a lot, but usually like maybe 6 or so of them change what they do. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes they become fairy fire, and I'm not really sure what to do with that. Because I don't think I've ever found a practical use for that spell in the game. But I would say that particularly like the healing ones can be really handy. And when Makar did his 10-week challenge, I went through a sizable stack of cakes and cookies for that, particularly the healing ones. At the time, there were some that were gave you like vigor or greater vigor or something like that, some healing over time. So I was chugging those pretty consistently. I like the prismatic spray ones currently. Those are pretty handy for low levels. You get a bunch of kobolds together and just let one of those rip and see what you get. There's also a sunburst one, which is pretty handy for some of the undead, lower level undead quests or oozes. They do really good against both of those kind of guys. I would say tips. Definitely look for quests that are high in chest content. Irestone Inlet tends to be a pretty popular one. I don't know if they drop out of the vault in Stormweaver's Fresco or not. But if they did, that would be a lot of chests as well in a very small area.
I have to try that this year.
That's something that was kind of big when the Mimicon came around, which was not intended.
I must say I participated in that too.
But you want to generally find quests that have a lot of chests, or ones that you can get to chests in a lot of chests in a short amount of time. Is kind of the general kind of idea. I don't know that it's necessarily worth. I personally don't think it's necessarily worth farming myself. There's like a really small. I think like one person every year gets like a +4 tome or something like that. But it's a pretty low shot of doing that. So.
That's never been me.
I like the event, but I've kind of found that I'm a little too lazy to do all the micromanaging with the cookies. I'll get the cookies and I'll forget to use them.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible with consumables.
And they're consumables anyway, so they're not going to be around forever. You have a handful of them and then they're gone. So I typically don't find it worth all the micromanaging, but I really just hate micromanaging inventory like that. So it might just be me.
I used more cookies and cakes when I was doing the challenge, Makar's challenge, which is where you were running content on Elite, but at like the lowest level you possibly could enter the quest, and I was soloing it. I was doing the solo portion of the competition, which meant I was going through a lot of those, particularly the ones that were healing, or then there's also some that like give you defense boosts. There's one that right now that gives you incorporality. There's one that gives you the radiant force field. So I was using cookies a lot. I used more cookies just doing that event than I have the rest of my playtime combined, I'm sure. I was just chugging those things, particularly when I got into higher level content. And usually there's someone usually tries to like organize some sort of thing where you dress like the festival jester, get as close to that as you can. That's always kind of fun to watch.
I've always had a lot of fun with the Taken cookie, the one that turns into a Taken.
Yeah.
Just mess around. I just think that's hilarious.
I know Tolero likes to eat those and then like run around, like swim around in the harbor.
Yeah, mess with people.
Mess with people. So new people are like, what's that? What was that?
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. Not directly swimming, but I'll pop on the harbor and just run around and mess with people. It's funny.
Yeah. But it's a good, solid event. Maybe not the most rewarding in terms of stuff that you can use, but it's kind of fun. And you don't have to go out of your way to do it either. I think is kind of the big thing. So let's talk about the Risia Ice Games. This is a festival. Actually, is this now the Midwinter Festival?
No. The Midwinter's in Evening Star,
right?
And the Risia's back in the Stormreach.
So they're at the same time, but they're different festivals. I think is what's going on, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So we'll talk about the ice games first, which is where you're trying to find the coins. It's what is it? Light blue, white, and purple, or something like that, or blue, white, and purple. Coins.
Blue, white, and purple. Yeah,
I think so.
And you're kind of end up. You have to. There's a couple. You can either kill like fire dudes or fire monsters, which is probably not a very effective way to get coins. I did try it once. I was farming Taming the Flames a little bit to kind of play with that, and I found it to be not so helpful. The other thing you can do is, I think there's two kind of iterations. There's the ski jump in the harbor, which will really test your Mario and Twitch skills. And then there's also a half pipe in the Bogwater Tavern, which I personally never really figured out. I think it also requires help. I think that's kind of more of an exercise in party coordination. And then the ski jump is kind of just how good can you move on ice and maneuver in the air. Do you guys have any kind of tips, tricks you like to use for this one?
Yeah, I can say I've tried the ski jump. I've never successfully made it across the map with that one. Like most players, I think I kind of do the cheesy. You jump from the little house that's right underneath it onto the ship, and then from the ship you jump all the way up and grab the purple.
I've never actually done that. I should try that sometime.
Works really good if you're a monk or a favored soul and have the abundant step.
I found that in terms of the ski jump, which I was pretty decent at for a little while. A character that has a high base run speed is good, because it lets you get a little bit farther on the jumps. Although you kind of have to time it sometimes. Even just a 20 monk, I was actually going a little too far, so I had to kind of pause a little bit and kind of back off to try and get the timing right. And the landing right. It takes practice, and I don't know that there's really a better way to get around that. I mean, you can kind of talk about how you can hop around to get the purple coin, but if you want to actually do the ski jump, you just got to kind of practice it and try it a few times. I think it probably took me a solid hour and a half before I was consistently getting to the end of the purple coin. And get ice skates. If you don't have ice skates, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. Have any of you guys tried the Bogwater at the half pipe? We're very familiar with that.
I have, and I like you. I never really took the time to figure it out or anything.
I tried it and it was successful only when it first came out. So that was quite a few years ago. I think it requires almost like 10 people in there because you got to hit all of the little plates on the floor at the same time to be able to get launched up. And even then, only one or two people were getting the coins. So I would definitely recommend the harbor.
Yeah. This is just one that I just do not do because I just didn't enjoy it. So
that's fair.
I'll get, if there's a fire elemental or what, I'll kill those to get the coins. But like you said, it's not the best way to get coins. But I don't go out of my way to do the other because I tried. I couldn't figure out the thing in Bogwater at all. It made completely no sense, and The ice jump, I just am horrible at. So it was just more frustrating than what it was worth, I think.
Yeah, if you're really good at if you're really good in the Bogwater Tavern, leave a comment. Let folks know how to do that if you would. Clearly, we all don't. I remember when this really first came out, and it was kind of the thing that when it first came out, people were a lot more active in doing it. But I knew way more people that pretty much just said, "Forget this, I'll buy it on the auction house," than people who were really farming it and actively doing it, which led to a lot of people making a lot of coin on the auction house because people were willing to pay for those. Particularly the thing that was big was the icy burst, because at the time it didn't increase your minimum level on your weapon, but now it does.
I remember that being a big thing back in the day.
When they
The icy burst before they raised
Yeah.
the minimum level.
yeah, it was
I
pretty
wasn't-
sweet.
I wasn't even aware they raised the minimum level for that.
Well, it didn't used to have a minimum level on it, and then because of some ways that they changed some of the mechanics of loot and stuff, it then became it added like 2 to the minimum level or something like that, maybe 3.
That's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to check my item, see if it went up in level now.
I would have done that, but I could not have told you what the minimum level of the few items I had it on were anyways. So, I mean, I mostly put it on some like a wounding, a puncturing bow, and I had some like something of greater elemental bane hand wraps that were good against, and whatever the first one was good against elementals too. So I put it on that. Which made it pretty good for an elemental beater, but I didn't really go do a lot of it myself.
I've got it on a +1 acid repeating light crossbow of lacerating. It was minimum level 4 at the time, so I'll check that next time I'm on that character.
Yeah, that would be a good one because it was really something that at epic levels wouldn't really do you a whole lot of good, but at lower levels that extra burst, icy burst, was really handy. So let's talk about the Midwinter Festival, which is the one that I have done absolutely the least, and by which I mean I really never did it. So I don't really have a lot to say on that one, but have you guys played around with that one?
No, I never have at all. I know nothing about this one whatsoever. Never even stepped foot in Evening Star when this was going on.
It's actually a little annoying because the river turns to ice, so you can't swim across it, which is what I do by default. So without even thinking about it, I tend to end up sliding across.
I haven't spent too much time with this event. What I mainly do, I'll grab some skates and just do the course a couple times just for fun. But I've never tried to seriously grind out any items.
I grinded it out when it first came out. I believe this was the only way to get the polar bear pet.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I ground it out for that. As for the little what is it? Cold and fire resistance, and I think fire and cold spell power. Sounds right. I've never used any of the items on there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it wasn't really. Just wasn't something that I was interested in doing, and I had other things going on. I don't remember the rewards being overly. I mean, it's mostly potions. I'm kind of looking through the list, but it's stuff that you can get in other ways. So, like glaciation, and even the minimum levels on those is actually I think worse than or higher than what you would randomly get in the game now. But it's there if you like skating. I mean, it can be fun to just kind of mess around with the course just in general. But it's not something I think is necessarily a very popular event. It's just kind of there for a week or two.
Definitely get ice skates for that event, though. You'll end up on the floor
For both
the
of them,
entire time.
yeah. For Ice Games and Midwinter Festival, you need the ice skates. Fun fact: the Ice Games were originally. Anyone remember when they came out originally?
Can't say that I do.
No.
Winter Olympics. It was during the Winter
Cool.
Olympics, in I think 2010.
That's right.
I don't remember
Makes
where the
sense.
Winter Olympics were, but it was kind of that same time frame. Okay, let's talk about the Festival of the Traveler, which I think colloquially would be called the Easter egg hunt, which coincidentally came out around Easter one year, also 2010, I believe. And this one is you talk to the festival. What's the person's name? I can't remember. Does it actually say the Festival of the Traveler? Somewhere in the marketplace, kind of in the north side near the airship tower, and she gives you a special site that lets you see bronze, silver, and gold. I call them eggs because they look kind of like Easter eggs, and I'm sure that's not a coincidence. I think they have a different technical name. But you run around the market and collect those, which gives you a score at which point you can turn it in, and you can get various. It's kind of like a random loot gen item, unless you have the blessing of the traveler, which you then turn that in, and it gives you a better reward, which when it first came out were really good. But I think that like the second time, the next iteration, it was actually better to not get the highest tier for what you would generally get, which was kind of weird. Mostly, I think it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, you turn in your token and you get to run around, you get the score, and then at the end you get to choose whether or not to turn in your blessing. So you have an opportunity to really kind of practice it. I generally went around the map in a counterclockwise fashion from the north and collected coins, or collected the eggs. And there's videos online that you can check out. But I found it to be more fun to just kind of wander around the first couple times and to kind of figure it out for myself. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to say on this one?
I don't have too much experience with this one. I used to run it when they would give you, I think, was it 5 tokens of the Traveler? I think now you have to buy them. And I'd only do it, I think, once, because I think you can only turn in the Blessing of the Traveler once, if I'm correct.
Yeah, once you turned it in, you lost it.
Yeah, so I usually only did it once for that, what was it, like the DDO store item.
Yeah, well, I've always used up the free ones they've given us, but I've never really bothered buying them.
Oh no, I mean like before you get like a cake or something you buy out of the store.
You can get cakes or something they've had over the res cakes. They've had the potions of healing, which weren't necessarily the best thing comparatively with what you could get. But then you could also get experience potions as well. There was like 2 or 3 things each tier you would get if you turned in the blessing. Just kind of depended on what it was at the time. I remember the first time it came out, it was pretty much worth it to turn in the higher one. But then like the second time around, I think it was giving away the most common thing for the highest tier was, I think, potions of supreme ability. But if you turned it in the tier below that, you would get experience potions instead, which most people found to be a lot better. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a weird one. Kind of a weird way that worked.
Do you know what % they were dropping?
Well, based on what I'm reading at the wiki, so the ultimate, the highest tier, you get 90% of the time you'd get 2 potions of supreme ability, and then the rare maybe like 10% of the time, you'd get 2 XP elixirs or a greater cake.
Oh, I see that. That's not bad.
Yeah, which was kind of yeah, but if you turn in the major one, 90% of the time you get 2 medium XP elixirs. So compared to 2 potions of supreme ability, I think most people kind of wanted to go.
Go with the ultimate.
You want to go for the major. The XP elixirs would be better than the supreme ability. So it was kind of a weird. At least that's what I did. I didn't really care for the supreme ability potions again because they're consumables that I don't tend to use very well and very often. But the XP elixirs are something that I use a lot more often.
I try to go for the cakes. I usually roll pretty well and get a ton of elixirs.
Yeah. Axel, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Honestly, this is one I tend not to participate in very often.
Yeah. I still have all the tokens that they gave me, but I only do it if I have a blessing these days. I'm guessing, Drac, you haven't played with this one.
Correct, I have not.
Well, if they give you free tokens, you should at least run around a few times. It is kind of fun. It's a fun little distraction. It doesn't take. It's only like a 3-minute thing. Your timer runs out at 3 minutes. It can be fun to just kind of wander around the market. It'll increase if you don't have great Mario skills. It's an opportunity to challenge yourself in that and kind of get a little better at it. But that's kind of how it works. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about the Crystal Cove, which is probably one of their more successful events, and has what we would generally consider actual, real, honest-to-goodness loot in terms of you can collect ingredients and work towards items and upgrading the items. And compared to the other ones we've been talking about, this one people actually run with the intention of getting specific items. Or at least that's my general sense of it. When we go around, just kind of give a general sense of Crystal Cove, why we like it, or if you don't like it, why you don't like it, and maybe some of your favorite items out of it. Don't all jump in at once.
Well, this one, I don't know what it is, but people do really seem to like this one. It might be the pirate theme, I don't know, but there is always the loot seems to be appealing, at least to some people, and I know some of the loot used to be like the cavalry plate used to be really up there as like one of the best armors in the game. Me personally, it's been a while since I've participated in it because they haven't updated the loot in a while, but it's still fun to go in there and just mess around.
I like it. I think the major thing why I like it is because of the pirate theme, because, I mean, who doesn't like pirates? Pirates are always awesome. And the loot, to me, is really good. I like, since I tend to play rogues most of the time, I really like that spyglass that you can get. And there is a sword that I can't think off the top of my head now what the name of it is, but I really enjoy the sword. I'm sure, Patrick, you can probably name it off the top of your head.
No, actually. I can tell you what it does at level 20.
The Cutthroat, that's what it's called.
Oh, you're talking about the short sword.
Yes.
I was thinking about the scimitar.
Oh, yeah, that's really good, too. I looked at that, the stats on that this year. I actually did this one this year for the first time, and I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Did you get to manage the kobolds at all?
Yes, one time.
How'd that work out for you?
I actually did it with the damsels. They drug me into it. All three of them, so I was with them. So
not only did they drag you in there, they made you herd the kobolds.
They did one time. And then I told them, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I just went around and killed stuff. Why I think Saba was the one that was doing the kobolds. But that's a lot of work if you have to manage them kobolds.
Can be.
Of course, I really didn't know what I was doing, so I'm sure it wasn't as hard as I was making it out to be. But I enjoy this festival a lot, though. I think this is one of my favorite ones.
Antha?
I would say this is one of my favorite festivals as well. I think it's got some of the best loot for a festival. Let's see, you've got the swashbuckler, which is great for any swashbuckler builds. Got the double striking on there, really helps, I find. And you've got the spyglass, which I think at the time had the highest search and disable for level 20.
It also it's one of the few places where you can get the it's got UMD on it, but it's not the standard equipment UMD.
Oh, that's right.
I don't remember what it's called, what the bonus is called.
I think it's just that's a competence bonus to UMD.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I made a lot of those actually. That was kind of the thing I made the most of.
I think I've got a few of them floating around, at least one for, I think, 10, 20, and 24. Great item for if you TR. My favorite item though has to be that flask. That thing has saved my butt. I don't know how many times.
Oh, the flask of the rum.
Yeah, level 11, and you get removes one negative level and heals you for like 110, I believe.
And it's an internal flask, so it shares cooldowns with everything else, right?
Yeah, it does. But I think that's the only flask worth holding on to, in my opinion.
I don't know. I like some of the other ones, but I never went back and got one of those. Mostly because of the number of characters I would have that would probably want that, and just kind of by the time that I would really, because I spend most of my time in epics, there's other healing options that require less investment. I do really like the spyglass is really good, and I am a particular fan of throwing good luck 2 on that for the minimum level 20 version, and it's just a great level 20 item. I actually never bothered upgrading a lot of these items up to level 24, and the main reason I did that was because for a couple of my characters, it was actually their level 20 to 24 gear. So by the time you get up to level 24, I find that they're generally using other things, but I like the gear at level 20. It's a really good one, good set of stuff. I also like the trinkets. There's a stalwart trinket, and then there's one that does electrical damage as well. I can't remember the name of it. If we seem underprepared, I apologize. We are totally unprepared because we throw this show together a little bit later than I normally try to do. But those are level 4 trinkets, and they're really good for level 4. Nice twink gear. You can throw them around on different characters. They're bound to account, not character, so you can really get a lot of bang for your buck out of those.
I'd say that unlike the new Night Revels festival, this is one of those festivals where you want to do it with a capped tune, since you can downgrade the stolen gems.
Right. The other thing that's really nice about this event is you don't have to keep finding keys. Once you get they're called compasses for this one. Once you get a compass and go into the Crystal Cove, when you come out, you'll have enough stolen gems that you can turn them in and get a new compass and go right back in. So it's self-sustaining in that way. The bold trinket was the one I was trying to think of. I think I want to really quickly too mention, you're talking about the buckler, which is a really nice buckler, but I think it's kind of a fascinating item in the sense that when it came out in the game, we didn't have swashbuckling, and I think most people looked at bucklers with a lot of disdain. Like, why would you wear a buckler? What's the
no
point
one
of
used
wearing
it.
Yeah, no one used
for
bucklers.
sure. No one really used bucklers that I know of, anyways. Before
And then we got
came out.
swashbucklers, and no, it's probably one of the best items out of there now. The cavalry plate is kind of the opposite. When it came out, it was really good. It was heavy armor, but it was made mithril, so you got a little extra dexterity. But this came out before the changes to defenses, where you got PRR based on what armor it was. So it being medium armor, it didn't have as good PRR as it would if it had heavy armor. It's got some nice things on it. I think it's got demonic shield, which gives you hit points when you get hit occasionally, which is really nice. It was good tanking armor, and I wore it for a while. I think it's actually still my level 20 armor for my paladin when he's level 20, but there's kind of other better stuff in the game. As far as tips and tricks for this, I actually really like running the kobolds. I like kind of having that manager aspect to it, and it's kind of its own little game. It really helps if you communicate and have people kind of scout out where you want to go. But I would say that there's kind of two things that are important whenever you're managing kobolds. One is keep them moving. Even if they're collecting a really lousy area full of greens, at least they're collecting something. The other thing is it really helps if you kind of cut the line off at a really good time. And so don't just work from the far end of your line and then clean it up going backwards. Cut it from the front end of the line. Start it going another direction. If you have extra torches, you can actually start your train going the other direction and then link it to the beginning later and more quickly, and then clean up your line going the other line that you're no longer using. And if you time it right, you can let some of the kobolds go by, let them clean up the very ends, grab the teleporter, come back. And by the time they get back, you've got a new land set up. Kind of some tips there. You guys have any tips you like for this one?
When I've had real successful groups at this, we've always had 2 scouts clearing at the same time they're scouting, trying to go for the prog. The prog's I think worth what, 100 crystals?
Oh, the progenitor crystals.
The progenitor crystal. That's what it's called. And if you uncover the map on this one, when you re-enter, it'll actually still be open.
If you want to get good at running kobolds, hang out in House C for a while. You can practice in those challenges. And when you're done with that, even if you don't need the ingredients for anything else, you can get guild pots, XP pots, and Slayer pots. They're minor versions, but you can still get a little bonus out of that. And unless anyone has anything else to talk about that, let's talk about the Mimic Hunt, which is a newer event this year. What did you guys think of the Mimic Hunt?
I love this event. I've got so many screenshots of chests just vomiting gold all over the place. I thought it was a lot of fun. The mechanics for the cards could have been a little reworked. I know they mentioned that though recently. I think I was only able to craft one level 24 item out of that.
Yeah, same here. You know, I really enjoyed this event, but the reward mechanic, yeah, it does need a little work. It was, I think, too much luck involved in terms of getting what you want. It was hard to actually get what you want. But other than that, you know, it was really fun.
I like how it kind of brought a little bit of a pen and paper feel to DDO, because you never knew when you were going to pull a mimic, and if you have a good DM in pen and paper, that could be, you know, the thing that you have. You'll find a chest and it's not really a chest, so it kind of brought that feel to it. So I like that aspect of it being a heavy pen and paper player too.
This is the one event that if they left it turned on, I would not mind at all.
I personally would like to see like a small percentage chance for any chest to be a mimic.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
if they just
that would
turn
be
down
really,
the
like,
rate, that'd be
permanently.
great. Leave it on.
I don't
think
know,
it'd be a
like what,
blast.
like 0.5% or less chance of any chest
Yeah.
being a mimic. That would be really cool.
It'd be a lot of fun. I know because this was on after I started the DDOCast Splat permadeath group, which made that a lot of fun. It was pretty hilarious watching people run away from chests instead of running towards them, which is a lot of amusement there. And I know there were several permadeath characters that were done in by mimics. I certainly think the loot mechanic was certainly the fail in this one. And it was kind of a backed in a corner, right? Because they promised that the Maybar loot was going to be in the Mimic Hunt because Maybar just wasn't playable the time before. But I think I like the loot system. Like, I like the card system. You turn in 2 cards, you can kind of pick something out. But it doesn't work for that kind of loot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if they put something in where you could trade cards you didn't want for cards you did want, like maybe at a, I don't know, 3 or 4 to 1 ratio.
That's a possibility. I think what I'd rather see is something more like what the anniversary event was, where, you know, if you looked at the chart of cards, you could turn in pretty much any 2 cards and get something that you would probably use. Now, there are certainly things that you would probably want more than others, but, you know, you could pretty much turn in any 2 cards and get, you know, okay, 50 fireballs. Well, maybe that's not the best thing in the world that you initially want, but you'll probably use them, right? There were a lot of different consumables that you could get. I mean, even if they didn't make any new loot for this next time around, they have said that they're going to rework the loot system because Maybar's loot went into the Night Revels, which I think was a good choice because it's a much more thematic theme, and
it definitely was.
The mechanics of your looting makes it a lot better that you're consistently working towards something and upgrading it rather than having a lot of luck. But if they took the Mimic Hunt and just took that loot table and peppered it with things like cookies from the festival and, you know, candy canes, and, you know, maybe they put some of the Night Revel, the candies that disappear put some of those in and made them disappear a little bit while later. You could do a lot of stuff with that where you're getting a lot more, and even like some of the anniversary card stuff, just potions of bottled healing, maybe some flesh to stone potions. Maybe not have them be things that people are going to really want to pursue the activities they did with the anniversary card events, and not have a huge flood of raid bypass timers. But maybe one of the higher end ones is a raid bypass timer. You could do a lot of things like that, but I think the loot needs to be more of a consumable mentality as opposed to the I'm trying to get this item mentality, if that makes sense.
So you're saying like just small, consumable, useful things as opposed to the big, full, upgraded items we see in other festivals.
Yeah, because like the items that you got on Maybar and the Night Revels and Crystal Cove, right? Like the loot mechanics work really well for that because you're consistently working towards getting the item that you want, right? You just keep running it, and you can upgrade it to certain points in time based on how much you run it. That works really well for those kind of items. The Mimic Hunt and the Festivult, there's a lot more randomness to what you get in terms of things to turn in. So it makes more sense for the loot to be more of that kind of consumable flavor.
I'd agree with that, but if they're going to do the items, I'd agree that you'd have the 2 to 3 turn-in, something like that, so you can actually get up to the top-tier cards. I personally was never able to loot a 9 or 10. I had to buy them off someone.
Yeah, and I think it's okay that the 9 and 10 are meant to be really rare, as long as it's not something that you're really trying to get to, right? Because I don't think anyone cares that when you look at the festival, nobody cares that the +4 tome in there is really rare to get, right? It's, ooh, I got one, that's awesome. They're like dancing on cloud 9 if it happens to them. And if your 9-10 rewards are like that for the Mimic Hunt, then I don't think people will care that they're rare. But if it's the level 24 item that you're trying to get, people are going to really care that they can't find a 9 or 10.
At the time, I was going for the Wraps of the Endless Light. I think I was one of the very few not going for the tome. So it was a little frustrating trying to get the level 24 item and not being able to get that.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because you want that item, but if it's that consumable...
Oh, who cares? It's just a
yeah,
plus.
Exactly. It's a bonus, but you're not going to really care if you don't get it. I think the Mimic Hunt will be a grand success. And again,
I'd like to add. This is one of the second event that they've had one of the pets, and this one actually had 2 pets. It had the rare green mimic. I think that's just a real cool bonus they've been throwing on with these latest events.
There wasn't a pet for Night Revels, was there?
No, unfortunately not. Would have been really cool though.
Yeah. I think devs, we need next year the Night Revels comes around, we need an appropriate, a pumpkin beholder pet. There we go. Make it happen.
That would be cool.
That would be
shadow.
amazing, actually.
I mean, a shadow would be okay, but pumpkin beholder? People would be falling head over heels for that.
I'd want
Heck
that.
yeah, they would.
Or maybe one of the I don't know if the Night Revels had it, but the incorporeal, the Doomsphere beholders were skulls instead of pumpkin heads. I always liked those. Be another option there. I think as far as tips for the Mimic Hunt, again, go find as many chests as you can.
Go to the bank. I'll see.
I think they turned that off.
Did they? Okay.
Or at least they're probably going to.
Yeah, I think that was the gist. They should. They should.
Yeah, that was a little broken.
It was ridiculous.
You should not be able to farm to that extent.
I agree. And I wouldn't want the drop rate or the prize, the cost of the prizes to be adjusted to that anyways.
Right. I did think that the drop rate of mimics was a very appropriate rate, though. It wasn't too. It didn't feel like it was too much. It didn't feel like it was too little. Let's see. All right. So let's talk about the Night Revels, which is the new one. So we'll kind of break this one down a little bit more. Really quick, let's just kind of go around. Give us a snapshot of your review of the Night Revels, because it's the newer one. and we'll start with Antha.
I thought it was great. The drop rate on keys could have been a little higher. I liked they used low-level quests and just brought them up into something new. That made it really fun, and it was nice to have some of the those old items back. And
Axel?
I really liked this event. I liked a lot of the stuff they did with it. Remaking the old harbor quest was cool. It was nice to revisit those quests. We haven't gotten to play a epic version of some of those quests before. I guess I thought the key drop rate was actually very appropriate. They did raise it, I think, after a couple days, and after that, I felt like I was getting around maybe one key every 10 minutes or so. I thought that was appropriate. I think it's fair to have a kind of a buy versus time mechanic in there. I guess as far as things I didn't like, I would have liked to see there be more to do in the Slayer area. I thought it got a little monotonous, just killing monster after monster. I talked about this a little on my YouTube channel on a video, but I would have liked to see maybe a mini boss spawn maybe once an hour. I don't know, like a giant skeleton, something like that, where everyone could kind of gang together, kill that. Anyone who damaged it got a guaranteed key, something like that. I would like to see the red names in there have a little more meaning, like maybe have something special for killing them. I don't think that they had any higher drop rates or anything, as opposed to just a regular mob. And I guess I would have liked to see the cost of the old loot, like the hand wraps and the cloaks, a little lower. I found that the grind for those, if you're making them from scratch, was significantly higher than even the augments, the wisdom and intelligence augments, which I thought was the most valuable in terms of a power level thing you can get from the event. So, but overall, I really liked it, and I spent quite a lot of time in there. I have a lot more positive things to say than negative.
They did have giant skeletons in there, and that was problem. Yeah, they did, and they were during Maybar, and it was pretty laggy, and then they retooled that, and that's when they added the Shredder Kai, so that not only was it not the giant skeletons causing problems, but also there were things that weren't undead, which is kind of a bone for the rogue style players, people that weren't just really good against undead.
I don't know if they can do this, but I thought it would be cool if they could throw like maybe some like a rare encounter or something in there, just something like like we see in like Necro 4 adventure area, something like that. Just something a little different, kind of to break up the killing.
I think it's a great idea. I think it'd be fun if there was a couple of random, maybe really rare spawns that were more likely to, or did something so you got a better chance of getting something fun. Maybe even some of the candies to turn into the actual ingredients that you need. Could be kind of a fun little twist, and maybe they only spawn if there's a certain number of players around, right? Maybe you gotta have like 10 players around for them to even have a chance of spawning. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Maybe get a Doom Sphere in there, although that might be a little big of a work hog. But yeah, I like the idea of making red names a little bit more interesting and having kind of more of that random rare monster feel. It'd be kind of fun. Drac?
Overall, I think I liked it a lot. I enjoyed the fact that the older quests were, turned into Halloween type things. I wish there would have been more than what there was, but they did say, next year they might look at adding new ones or swapping them all out, so we'll see what they do. I agree with everybody that I think I would like to see that the red names actually meant something, because every time I would have, killed one of those or helped kill one of those, all I ever got was just chocolate, just the regular chocolate off of them. So it kind of like didn't really mean anything, so I would kind of like to see them tweak that a little bit. My RNG luck is pretty much legendary at this point, so I think the key drop rate was low, but then again, that might have just been me with my RNG luck that I don't have. But overall, I think it was a fun event. I enjoyed it, and I like the fact that they did add the Maybar loot, because that gave me a chance to get some of that I could never get before. And it was a pretty easy event to do. It was good I threw on some podcast and just went out and just kind of like, I hate to use the word grind it because it's not really a grind, but it kind of is. I just spent some time in the graveyard just killing stuff, got some keys, went in, got some stuff, so it's quick, it's easy. You don't have to think about it much. It's not like anything that you have to really concentrate on. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I'd say I liked the feel of the quests. The decorations were a lot of fun. The quests didn't, even Kobold's New Ringleader didn't feel too long. Particularly because if you got a really good group together, you could really blitz through some of that stuff. I do kind of agree that the graveyard was a little more monotonous. I personally didn't have a problem with the key drop rate. I would say that I found it to be quite sporadic and streaky. But there was like a 10-second period where I got 3 keys and someone else got 2 keys. So
yeah, I got 2 keys within 5 seconds.
Yeah, like you could really get pretty streaky. I did find some of my tips for this would be like if you're running the quests, do them in a circuit. Don't just farm one quest over and over and over again. I like this for 2 main reasons. One is it breaks up the monotony. I never found myself really bored with the quest by kind of doing it in that circuit. The other nice thing is I typically got at least 1 key by killing stuff on the way to the different quests. So that would be an option. From the chat, just some ideas I kind of liked. Spasms mentioned that the worst part for him was trying to farm stuff, and warlocks and sorcerers would not in his party would come up and steal the kills. There is, I know what you're saying. Just so you know, based on what the dev said, kind of some things that play into when you get stuff from things dying. If you were on their aggro list, or if you damaged them, particularly if you damaged them earlier, I think you were more likely to get stuff. It's not just the kills that gives you stuff, but killing is one of the things that, if you or someone in your party killed something, there's a chance that someone gets something as well. So that is a problem. I did really like his idea, though, if he instead of being a public instance, make it more of an explorer area, which I think Axel would actually make it would really play into kind of what you're talking about, where you could have some more of those rare encounters and have it. Then you could even have chests that might drop some of those rarer ingredients, or maybe even some of the lower level goodies, chocolates, stuff like that. Maybe even something like some of the candies. I think that is something. Dads, if you're listening, maybe consider that. I think that's actually a really good idea, and that came from Spasms.
Yeah, I would love to see him do that.
I don't think you'd lose anything from that either.
There's the regen thing right now because it's a public area. Still, it would regen your health points and spell points. I know some people like that. They made an explore area wouldn't do that, but that's kind of a minor thing.
It's such a minor thing, and
yeah.
You could go in if it was like one of the even if you had to like reset it every while. If you did a circuit and you had to come out and reset it, I think that'd still be okay.
Yeah.
It's still something you could solo because we know we have the technology to make explorer areas kind of scale based on how big the party is. I think it could work pretty well.
I'd like to see them implement. Like I said, I had low drop rate on keys. I think I was maybe 1 every 20 minutes or so, for the most part. But I'd like to see them have an ingredient turn in, so you can get a key. I like that they're unbound.
There actually was. Yeah, you could turn in a few ingredients for a key. Actually,
there was.
Yeah, I think it was 5 of each ingredient, and some chocolates.
I never saw that.
Key. Huh. Yeah, am I right? I think so.
I don't know. I never actually turned in for a key.
I think it was 5 of each ingredients and a handful of chocolates.
I know towards the end of the event, though, everyone was selling them on the auction house for pretty dirt cheap.
Yeah, I sold where I got down to it. I needed like 3 more runs, and I didn't have any. I ran out of keys at that point. Finally, I did, by the way, like that they gave us a code for 4 keys to start with. I think that was a really nice way to start. But I needed like 3 more keys. Someone gave me 10 keys from my guild. Gave me 10 keys because they weren't going to use them. And I finished the 3 more runs I needed, and I walked to the graveyard with 19 keys all of a sudden, or something like, or maybe 12 keys. I had more keys than I went in with, even after the runs. And then I couldn't find anyone to give them to, so I put them on the auction house for cheap, and they sold pretty quick.
They actually gave they gave the one coupon code for the preview, and then I believe they gave another one. I believe
Yeah, they
had
did.
eight keys, so 8 free keys. That was really nice.
So I want to talk briefly about the new loot. What did you guys think about the new loot specific to Night Revels?
I loved it. I liked that it was Mirror of Glamoring fodder. I love the broom. I'm going to have that as my my undead beater on one of my characters. But the diamond of Spooky Wisdom and Spooky Intelligence are great. It's nice to seeing them touch on some of the DC casters.
Yeah, I really like the loot. I farmed out quite a bit of it. I got a +2 wisdom augment, and there's a mask that I glamored. It kind of looks like Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. I mirrored that, put it, had on my character in conjunction with a blood plate from Church in the Cult, and it looks like it made for a cool appearance for my character. So I did that. Then I got the Shadow Apple, the candy. You know, I know they're going away, but it was a really short farm, and it's +5 melee power for an hour, so it's pretty nice.
The shadowy weapons on that's kind of cool. First time we've ever seen something like that.
Oh yeah, I use that too. Yeah, it's not a whole lot of damage, but it makes your weapons look cool.
It's 1d6, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although it
That's
doesn't
not-
stack
I
with
think
like
so.
anything else in the game, though. Like,
No,
anything an Artie can throw on you and all that stuff. But yeah,
No, it
but it's
doesn't.
nice
yeah.
for level 1 because it doesn't have a
sure.
main level on it.
Drac, was there something that you liked out of the newer loot?
The witch's hat looks really good on my warlock, so I like that.
What color is that hat?
It's kind of like a grayish.
Okay, because I have a brown one, a cosmetic brown one that they gave for
And-
some such thing. But, yeah, I think the new loot was, a lot of the items weren't really that. I wasn't necessarily impressed by any of them, but they had no minimum level, had some, and they look great. That's for sure. I know someone put in a picture of like just glamored stuff from there that made them look like a witch, which was pretty cool.
And I see so many of those masks running around. They're like everybody has those masks on now.
And the broom's kind of a fun one, although I'm still waiting for the anchor, because there's an ogre in Three Bullet Cove that has an anchor for a weapon, and that would be fun to glamour as well. So there's some, I think the glamoring thing was a really nice way to go. The items aren't useless by any means, but I think their value is probably more in terms of a glamour than anything else. Let's talk about the mechanic where the stuff's going away. What do you guys think about that?
I guess I didn't have that big of a problem with it because to me the cookies or the candies, sorry, that you got were not the best really. So I'm not all that upset. They're just gonna disappear. And I understand, they explained why they're doing it, and that makes sense to me. So I didn't understand quite the uproar that there was that the stuff is disappearing. To me, it was not that big of a deal, really.
I think
Yeah, Go ahead.
I think it's unfortunate that they did that. I understand why. Obviously, that's a big problem. But my fiance, she wanted to loot this, and she wasn't able to put in very much time or get any of the items. So it would be nice to be able to keep the ingredients for next year, but that's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm fine with the candies going away. I thought the ingredients should have stayed. For one reason, like you just mentioned, I think a lot of people might have the attitude that, hey, I don't want to bother because I might not get to what I want, and I don't want all that time to be wasted. I think they should have let the ingredients stay until next year. The candies are fine because with candies going away, it lets them be a little more flexible in terms of how much power they build into those items. So I understand that. I think that's fine. And they had a short grind to compensate for that. So I have no problem with the candies going away.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is I kind of want to wait and see. I almost want to pass judgment on it because I want to. One of their ideas behind it was they wanted people to come back next year, not just have a stockpile of ingredients for that. I kind of want to see how well that actually works and if that holds true. The candies going away because of how easy they were to get isn't really a big problem, and I agree that it's good that they go away because then players don't feel obligated to get them, and the devs don't have to plan around them. But I think what the place where it kind of breaks down, I think, is the Maybar loot, because of how much ingredients you need to get for those. I could see that being more of a problem. But at the same time, there is kind of that upgrade thing, right, where you could get a lower version in this year and then upgrade it next year kind of thing. So you can almost save your progress, but not quite. It's a little bit of a trick, and I get that there's some differing opinions, and I understand both sides, and they're conflicting to a certain point, but it does make some amount of sense. So let's see, anything else you guys want to say about the Night Revels?
I think the top tier loot should be the amount of ingredients should be lowered a little bit. It seemed pretty hard pressed to get 240 of those.
Yeah. All right, real quick.
I agree.
This is one of the questions we were going to debate on, so Antha's probably the only one who's thought about it, so we'll start with him. What's a quest that you would like to see get the Night Revels treatment?
Oh man, that was actually pretty hard, but I'd like to see Cobalt Assault get it. I think that would be fun. Have a whole bunch of undead kobolds coming at you.
Okay.
If they could shorten it.
Axel or Drac, do you have a quest you'd like to see get that treatment?
Oh, that is a good question.
I guess the portable hull quest would make sense. Is it short?
Okay. A little higher level, but yeah, I can see that. I'm trying to think of one I myself, and it's kind of hard to kind of come up with one on the spot. Irestone Inlet could be kind of fun. Although it's a larger map. I think it almost kind of... all right, I'm going to cheat a little bit, because we were talking about like the Explorer area. I think it'd be kind of fun if they maybe, instead of it just being Delirious, maybe have Delirious Graveyard stay that public instant. Maybe the Night Revels also takes over, say, maybe an Explorer area that gets a Night Revels treatment that then becomes a place that you can go as an alternative that has those rare encounters and stuff like that.
I just thought of one. The Church and the Cult, I think, would be a good one. It's very Halloween themed. Got the vampire at the end.
That's a good one.
It's short.
DDO Central says they should bring back a 12-man Spectral Dragon raid, which could be fun.
That was fun. I missed the dragon. That was a lot of fun beating her down.
When the dragon worked and wasn't lag fested, it was actually kind of a fun exercise. A lot of people in there. All right, let's go around the table real quick. What's your favorite event and why? I got to go with the Mimic Hunt. I just love the feel of the. I know the loot needs some work, and we'll hopefully get that. But I just like the feel of the event. I don't have to go out of my way. It's a little bit of a surprise every time, and it's fun.
I would have to go with the Night Revels. There's usually something I want from that event. The loot tends to be really good. It fits the Halloween season very well. Has a nice feel to it. It's always an event. It's definitely my favorite event.
I think I'm going to go with Night Revels because I love Halloween. Close second would be the Mimic Hunt, just because of as I mentioned before, the kind of pen and paper tie-in with it. But I like the Night Revels.
I'm going to jump in real quick before Antha goes. Chat room, feel free to jump in on this question too. What's your favorite event? Antha?
That's a hard choice between the Night Revels, but I think I'd actually have to say the Mimic Hunt. It was fun having that fear and epic levels that I might open a chest that's going to kill me. I solo a lot, so they were pretty nasty on epic.
Yeah, I think Spasm says no love for the ice event, which I'm guessing is one of his favorites, and DDO Central says Maybar was his favorite event. So it's almost like Night Revels, but without the lag, or with the lag. All right, so we were talking about this earlier. We'll see how well this works. This is another one of the questions, and this one came from Propane on Solona. Pitch a 10th anniversary event. and I'll kind of jump in here. So I was thinking about this, and I'd like to see something similar to, if you remember when we got Hound of Zoriat and Vision of Destruction, there was a server-wide event that you had to turn things in to kind of unlock that. I'd like to see something kind of a server-wide thing where you're turning in ingredients. So maybe like the kind of like a mimic, maybe like the mimic hunt, and maybe they turn on some other things as well, or you can get some ingredients from the raids. But what I'd like to see is you come back to the center guy, the turn-in guy. You can get some stuff that in the beginning is kind of some smaller stuff, but as more and more people turn it in, it unlocks other things, and then maybe you can get things. And this will also, DO Central also asked what would be some good suggestions for new Mimic Hunt loot. I think maybe some stuff that you can get some out of the Mysterious Remnants vendor, like the +1, the PRR, MRR power tomes, could maybe be in this kind of a 10th anniversary thing. But I just kind of like that feel from Hound of Zoriat and Vision of Destruction when we were trying to unlock this new raid, to have the whole server kind of get involved and be able to unlock kind of more better prizes. That's kind of something I'd like to see. Do you guys have any thoughts on what you'd like to see for the 10th anniversary event?
I didn't really have an answer for this one, but what I'd like to see is something like when they did the when they blew up the marketplace tent, some kind of huge just live event where it doesn't really come back, but it's just fun.
And I did come up with something. I'll just put the caveat out here that I kind of got drug in at the very beginning of this, so I didn't plan on this question. So this is just off the top of my head, something I thought of real quick. But I would kind of like to see them go back to basic. And what I mean by that is, and this is like pie in the sky, I know this is never going to happen, but I would like to see them go back to one of the very first modules ever written for D&D, and that was Keep on the Borderlands. And do that classic module, but do it up very specially for the 10th anniversary event. And maybe it be a limited time thing that only runs during the 10th anniversary.
Axel, do you have any thoughts?
Like Drac, I was drug in at the beginning of this podcast, so no, I don't have anything prepared.
You know what could also be fun is if they spawn, kind of like the invasion stuff, if they spawn some dragons occasionally in like public areas. It could be a lot of fun.
But I do like the thought of having like some server-wide type event, though, because, see, I was never around for any of those that when they used to do those. So I think that would be kind of neat to see some type of, like you guys were saying, like the attack on the marketplace, or doing something like that would require, all of the server to get involved. That would be fun.
It was actually a lot of fun if for those who were around when we. So what happened when they released Hound of Zoriat and Vision of Destruction? You had to get tokens from most of the other raids. I think Titan and Abbott were the two that were accepted. But at the end chest, you would get tokens, and then you could go turn them in, and you needed a certain number from each one of those raids to unlock the new raids. And it was pretty funny on the forums to kind of watch how people were, and even like the devs were kind of chiming in about which server was leading, and it kind of became a little bit of a competition thing. At one point, a dev reportedly got some mechanized digging machines on their server, and it was a lot of fun. So I'd like to see something kind of similar to that. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about seasonal events before we move on to the news?
I think overall, I like the whole aspect of them. As I said earlier, I think it kind of just breaks up the monotony of, you're always just going into a dungeon. It's just kind of a little fun distraction to do. So I think they're a good thing overall.
I certainly wouldn't mind if we had a few more of them sprinkled throughout the year. I think I get that a lot of them are seasonal, but waiting once a year is a long time to wait for some of these. I'd like to see them be on a little bit more, personally. Twice a year at least. I like to see the Mimikant more. You can turn it on and leave it on. I'd be happy with that. Let's see, game news. So some holidays are coming up. Here are kind of the phone hours and how that's going to look. On November 25th, the phone hours will be adjusted to 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Phones will also be closed on 11/26. For Christmas, the 24th of December and 25th of December will be closed. New Year's Eve will be adjusted hours from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and they will be closed on New Year's Day. And they, of course, wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season, which we will echo. Let's see. Some other just kind of quick comments from the devs. Epic Destiny Balance is on their long-term radar in a good way, not an ominous way. That came from Sev. Sev also mentioned that Epic Elite, Necrophore, and Temple of Elemental Evil still probably need some tweaking after our Monster Pass. I would say yes, please. I just ran that on my Monk, the Epic Necro. It hurt in pajamas a lot. I was getting squished all over the place. And I was in a good Destiny, too. I probably could have picked a better one for hit points and stuff, but I was getting smashed. The server merging, a little bit of information on server merging. So this came from Severlin. They plan on revisiting the idea of server merges after they've moved to the new data center, which is slated for sometime in the new year. They want to make sure they have lag under control before concentrating the players. They recently made some fairly large changes to help combat lag, particularly in the Stormhorns and other places where monsters can use persistent AoE effects. They haven't heard any feedback that lag is reduced, but the nature of that beast is that they only hear about it when lag is bad. There are some obstacles to overcome, like making sure shared storage and guild move over, and players have good tools to deal with named collisions for both characters and guilds. He also came back on to kind of rephrase that they don't plan to consider any type of server merge until they are not only moved to a new data center. They don't plan on the merge until they kind of want to see how lag is with the new and improved hardware on the new data centers. So that's kind of one of the things they're looking at. If they did ever consider the idea of server merges, not that they have definite plans to do that, it would not be until the issues that he mentioned involving name collisions and moving shared storage, guilds, and all that stuff to new servers would be addressed. In other words, he's saying that server merges are definitely off the table currently for technical reasons, but they are not saying that they are. We're not saying that they are planned out, so that they don't have current plans to do them because of other things, but it's something they will be looking at in the future. Cordovan also said they expect and hope that moving the operations to the new data center will have some improvement on game performance, but quantifying that in terms of improvement is probably best done when they actually see the result. So there you go. Any thoughts on server merges? Quick before we move on.
I'm all for them. I want is a small number of servers as lag can, let us handle.
I'd agree. More groups.
I don't see anything wrong with letting more people play together.
Other than the aforementioned issues.
Yes, yes.
I mean, those are issues.
And all that stuff. Yep.
I do not want to see server merges at the expense of being able to play the game, or half the servers completely losing all of their guild airships and shared storage and stuff like that. This would be unfortunate. We do not want to see this. Right. So there's a question about kind of the timing of the balance pass and some stuff related to the balance pass. Severlin wrote in that the reason they didn't just hand out Hearts of Wood to everyone is because the design goal of the changes was that design intent shouldn't be affected by balance. It's players' design intent, build design intent. Outside of the new feats, nothing they did changed the design intent of builds, only relative statistical performance. If a player did communicate a reason a change that affected design intent, such as the way improved critical interacted with Swashbuckler's weapon profile normalization, they fixed it. As an example, changes to improve critical effect performance, but it doesn't change the way you'd build a character. I think everyone here would agree that we're still going to take improved critical as a feat.
Certainly.
Another example, 2 levels of Paladin still provides a massive +8 bonus to saving throws, which is one of the best ways to splash a boost to saving throws. The amount you gain is no longer overwhelming, but the intent of the character design is still intact. They specifically didn't want to try and write off design intent changes by blowing off player concerns and telling them to make a new build. It wasn't the design goal of the balance changes. On the other hand, players rightly brought up that while many shot was a DPS increase at the top end, the changes scaled the feat too slowly at lower levels. It was good feedback, and they changed it to front load a lot of the damage, so it scaled with levels closer to the original. That, to us, or to the devs, is a better solution than essentially telling players to redo their build, which I support. I like the idea of, if you're going to do balance changes, not to change the design intent of builds. That's a good choice, I think. As far as timing, the balance changes were pushed back in the schedule, which messed up how they lined up with sales. Sev took the blame on that. It wasn't an attempt to try and trick players. They'd much rather have players happy with their purchases. They didn't feel that the balance changes required a plus 20 Heart of Wood, so the cadence of the sales remained unchanged. Some people were speculating that there was a conspiracy by the devs to have plus 20 Hearts of Wood on sale shortly after the balance changes. So that's what he was speaking to there. That was not the intent. I think let's real quick. We've spent a few weeks since balance changes. How do you feel the game has been impacted? Thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of neutral? What do you guys kind of generally feel?
Thumbs up for me. I think they addressed a lot of, there's a lot of builds out there that were just, I think they made it not worthwhile to pursue other options. I can definitely feel the changes, especially the MRR loss. I can definitely feel the additional damage, but I think it was necessary. I am in the camp that I think the game overall, the difficulty needs to be brought up a little bit, and I think doing that through these changes was definitely warranted.
Say thumbs up as well. I'm glad they did away with MRR. I don't think you should get an MRR bonus just for wearing a shield. I can say other than that, it hasn't really affected me. Warlock needed a nerf, let's be honest.
Drac, do you have any thoughts?
Coming from my highest level I have right now is a 21, so I really didn't notice that big of changes. And plus, I'm not one to actually do a quote-unquote build, which I really need. I want to start actually doing that to look at building. I kind of just play how I enjoy playing, and I'll be the first to admit I'm sure my characters are not min-maxed the way they should be, and my builds could be better, but I didn't notice that big of a change. And even on my Warlock is only level 9. I'm still a death-dealing machine on my Warlock. So I'm not seeing these changes really did much, but of course I'm at low level though. I'm sure higher up, people can give me thousands of reasons why these were bad. But overall, I like them. I didn't see a problem. I don't think it was the end of the world like a lot of people were saying it was going to be.
Yeah, I think the two things I noticed the most is the change in how many shot feels and how it operates, and also a little bit less PRR and a lot less MRR. My sense of the MRR PRR is a little bit skewed because I've been playing my monk a lot of late, which didn't really have any impact on him at all. He still gets pummeled into the ground. So he still feels really squishy, and that didn't really change at all. As far as mini shot goes, it definitely has a different feel in the sense that I don't see as many numbers, but I don't feel like I lost a lot of DPS power just kind of overall. It's still, I've been playing 15 to 20, and I was around 28 for a little while. My Ranger still feels like mini shot is a worthwhile click to make. I don't feel like I'm missing out on the double shot penalty anymore. And I like seeing bigger numbers. I've always been a guy that likes big numbers compared to lots of smaller numbers. It just feels like I'm doing more when I see a much larger number than a bunch of smaller numbers. That's always kind of been my perception. Bonus day is Champion Hunter Week through November 19th. All of the rewards you can get for Mysterious Remnants are available. I was shocked and amazed to find out that I had 15,000 remnants stored up. I went and bought
Wow.
some. Yeah. It was.
Nice.
I was a little surprised by that. It didn't go very far. I already had a level 7 cloak, so I bought a 14 and a 21 cloak because it kind of fits for a lot of my characters to just kind of have that stuff. So I'll kind of hang on to those for as they're doing lives. They're really good cloaks and bracers, but cloak slot works better for me, so I bought one of each so I can keep them in my shared bank. Let's see, store news. You can get a plus 20 Heart of Wood through November 16th, and I believe that comes with a free plus 5 Heart of Wood as well. So that's pretty cool. You can also get 20% off of character slots, questing tools, healing items, spell point potions, and stat buff potions through November 19th. The freebie for the week is a greater negative level removal potion. I have still never used one of those. I probably should. I had a lot of negative levels this week. Community news. DDO Chronicle, the 166th Chronicle. Hafiel's Where Am I thread is now in the Hall of Fame. Full Moon Fury introduced new raiders to the Shroud with easy tips and advice. The guild for the week, the Sons of Ares, are a Galanda-based guild of slightly more mature players with a pen and paper background looking for people to join them. It's a medium-sized guild hosting regular raids, has an airship with buffs, and believes in a relaxed attitude to gaming. You can find out more about them. The comment for the week. What do the residents of Evening Star get most annoyed about their adventuring visitors? And we'll go around the table. Let's start with Antha. What do the residents of Evening Star get most annoyed about their adventuring visitors?
Let's say all the Pale Masters walking around. You know, they just dealt with the Drow having their villagers resurrected. I don't think they want to see some Pale Masters walking around there.
All right. Draculetta?
The stink from the Underdark that they bring as they come out of the Underdark for the first time.
Axel?
I would think it's all the adventurers coming in and killing everybody.
I'm going to say that it's a shortage of ale, that the adventurers are coming in and drinking all of the ale. Fansite news, they got a shout out for our Ask the Devs episode last week. Thanks again for the devs for taking some time to do that. Got some feedback that was really positive, and a lot of people were really excited about what they were able to share. The DDO Players News looked at Update 29, Movember, and more. Draculetta. DDO Gamer pondered leveling milestones. He had some nice charts with those, as always. Voodoo continued his Enlightened Spirit Tank project in a new video. Enrique tallied up his Night Revels in a new blog post. The Witching Hour wrote about her Night Revels experience. Order of Syncletica looked at a Bow Master. You can check that out for some build tips. And Full Moon Fury looked at level 20 melee weapons. Let's see. Some videos this week. Axel here had a review of Night Revels on his YouTube channel. Voodoo did an Epic Elite Mark of Death using Flesh of Stone and Blindness with his guild, and he put that up as well. DDO Players News had their 58th episode. DDO Gamer also did a Night Revels review on his website. And Full Moon Fury, I like this article. This was kind of a fun one for me this week. It's talking about a melee and Magister. So he's looking at the Magister Epic Destiny from the point of view of a melee paladin, which is kind of yeah. It's I don't know how you guys feel about this. Magister is probably, in my opinion, the I don't want to say worst. I want to say the least good Epic Destiny available.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in there for a melee.
It's a rough one. It's a rough one. And really, about the only thing out of that Destiny that I really like is the DC bonus, which I twist in a lot of my characters. But let's see some events. Galanda is doing a Secret Santa, so we will link to that in our show notes, so you can check that out if you're on Galanda. They're hoping for about 50 people this year. They had 30 some odd people last year do it. There will not be an official booth presence for DDO at PAX East this year. They haven't done an official DDO booth presence for a while. However, it is in Turbine's backyard, so you can probably expect to find a few devs wandering around. And also, they do plan on having, Cordovan said they will almost certainly organize some kind of a meetup, which they usually do for PAX East. And also, you can support Team Turbine for Movember. This is mostly being spearheaded by Cordovan, but also some other folks in the DDO community. They've already raised $3,000 for Movember, which is pretty impressive, and I believe that is higher than it was last year. I will point out that if they raise $10,000, Jerry has promised to shave the DDO logo into his head. I don't know that anyone's actually expecting that to happen, but if you'd like to see that, give generously. But he has a whole list of prizes that he's doing. He actually had to come up with more, and we beat that all. So he has to come up with more. And
That's amazing.
It's a nice problem to have.
That's a great problem to have. $3,000, and we're not even at the halfway point in November. So kudos to Jerry and Team Turbine with Movember. And if you have given, thank you for that support as well. It's a good cause, and I'm going to plug it as much as I can. I'm holding out hope that we'll get to see Jerry with the DDO logo shaved in his head. It was kind of a joke suggestion that I did last year, that if he raised $10,000, he'd do it, and I got him to do it again this year. And I know from our Ask the Devs that the devs are kind of also hoping for that as well. But it's still kind of an outside shot. But kudos it's $3,000, and that's mostly the DDO community, I think. So that's pretty awesome. Other DDOcast news: DDOcast Splat is still going. Let's see, this week we're still in the Giant Hold. I'm working us towards actually running a raid. Try and run Reaver's Fate if we survive that long. Somebody who will remain nameless did cast a Sleet Storm to kill some people in a trap. We're playing permadeath, and I'm doing this to people. It's great. You will never find another permadeath group like us, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. This is the zergiest permadeath group I've ever seen in my life.
And we kind of actively try and kill each other occasionally. Or I actively try and get us killed occasionally. Lesla's convinced that I don't want to play permadeath anymore. It's not true. I'm just trying to have fun with it. I really am behind the permadeath thing, and I'm not going to play it more than I already am, but I'm having fun with it. Lightning Post. So we got a survey question this week. Where should we spend our time to farm, and on what? And since I'm springing this on these guys, and they probably didn't look at this question beforehand, I'll go first. My recommendation is to farm XP. Items are great, and definitely can be of value for your character. But in my experience, in terms of like your top tier finished loot gear set, you're probably not going to keep the same gear set more than a year. So, the loot's going to come and go over the years, but XP, at least until you cap out everything, XP will always benefit you. That's my answer. Axel, let's go to you next.
Yeah, for sure. If you're going to farm something, obviously XP. Another thing that's worth your time is if you want to farm out items that you can sell on the shard house for shards. A lot of stuff you can do with shards.
Do you have recommendations for that? Obviously not
off the top
stuff.
of my head. It changes a lot just depending on, what are the hot items, but can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay. Antha?
XP. In my experience, it always seems like the item drop rate gets increased as it ages.
Okay. Draculetta?
I think I'm going to say XP as well. What I like to do is just go out into the adventure areas and just do all the slayers. And you might actually get some decent loot out there. So if you're looking for loot, that's a way that you might get halfway decent loot. But it's really good experience just getting all the slayers in the adventure areas.
For a change of pace, I will say that some things you can look to farm are utility items. Spasms in our chat room is actually suggesting probably one of the most useful utility items, the Jack Jibber's Blade, which you will probably have to farm for. It is not a high drop rate. That's a blade that brings you back from the dead. Some other things that you might consider, utility items are things that you're not going to be in your main gear set, but you're going to keep hanging on to for a long time and use here and there. The Boots of Propulsion in House Canith is a good example. The Ring of the Ancestors, which you don't see many people farming for, it's a free res clicky. These are things that you can use that generally have clickies on them, but they're things that you can use throughout gameplay and hang on to for that nice occasion where you might need one.
And the good thing about the Jack Jibber's blade is that quest in Epics is really, really good XP per minute, so
Yeah,
you can actually
it is.
farm XP and that blade at the same time. It's worth just running for XP, even if you already have a blade, honestly.
And it's not to say that we're not looking for gear either, but tend not to focus on that. I actually keep a list by character of things that I want to find, but then I just kind of keep it more from a standpoint of if I'm running that stuff and I find an item that I want, then I know if I still need it, as opposed to it's not necessarily directing what I'm playing, if that makes sense. At least not currently. It will eventually. Maybe. Someday.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the word farm can have a bit of a negative annotation. If you're not having fun, don't farm. Do what's fun first.
Having said that, there's plenty of items that I would say that really will make a build feel real special after a certain point, or are really handy in that. So I would look at the Orchard personally. That's a great place to look for some of those items that really kind of flesh out some builds and have a lot of nice stuff on them. Look for some PRR, MRR kind of stuff. That's really good. An Undead Beater, actually, now that I think about it, is a pretty good thing to look at in terms of farming. Either a Mornlord item from House Cannith and the Mutineer's Blade from Three Cove. I kind of like getting those as well. There's some ideas other than XP. So with that, we'll give us some last calls. Draculetta, why don't you tell folks about what you're doing?
You can find me over at DDOplayers.com, where we cover DDO, of course. We also cover pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons, and we just now started branching out into other types of tabletop board games. So any type of geeky gaming you can find over at DDOplayers.com, and we also do a weekly podcast. We record it live on Monday nights at 8:30 Eastern Time, and it releases on Wednesday, and you can find that either on our site, on YouTube, on iTunes, and soon to be Google Play Music as well.
It's a great podcast to listen to. And it's a really
Thanks.
it's a really good counterpoint perspective, because I think DDOcast more often than not gets a little bit of a vibe of people who've been playing for a long time and are very experienced and a little overly knowledgeable about the game, myself chiefly included. But Pine Leaf and Draculetta have a really nice, fresh perspective.
If you're looking for the noob perspective, that's us.
It's not even that noobish. It's just things are new and shiny for you guys. That
We hear that a lot, actually. We do. We hear that a lot, and a lot of people say that's why they like the show so much, because everything is exciting and new to us.
It kind of harkens back to when I was new, or like the content was new and I hadn't run it before. It's like, ooh, this is kind of cool. It's nostalgic. Axel, do you want to plug your YouTube channel?
Yeah, you can find me Axel's DDO channel on YouTube. You can find me on the fan site section of the DDO forums, or just go directly to YouTube. I do a lot of discussion videos about the game. I'll pick a topic and talk about it. Also do reviews, some guides, and some gameplay. Although the focus of my channel tends to be more discussions. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Axel311. I stream normally on Fridays around 9 o'clock Eastern. If you want to check me out.
Antha, anything you want to plug?
I don't have anything to plug. I'll plug the guild. If you're on Kyber and you're looking for a guild, we're always looking to recruit. Anyone who's really interested in TRing, I'm constantly going through lives, and it'd be always nice to have a TR buddy or be a TR buddy to someone.
Great. So thanks again, guys, especially Draculetta and Axel joining us on really short notice, by which I mean like they hopped in and we started the show. So it was
Pretty
great.
much, yeah.
We had guests lined up, and had some internet problems, and unfortunately one of them was going to the hospital for a loved one. So our thoughts go out to them as well. But thanks for listening to the show. Thanks to all the other contributors for DDOcast too. If you guys are listening, I know most of you guys are pretty constant on listening to the show, and really appreciate all the help that I get for the show. makes for a much more fun experience for me and for everyone else, I think. Thanks to Charbine and Wizards for making DDO happen, and thanks to Cyberbeers for hosting DDOcast. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, our calendar, previous shows, swag, other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show, or you have a comment on this episode, or a question you'd like to ask us, or a topic you'd like us to debate, hey, leave it, what was your favorite? What's your favorite festival? Leave it in the comments. What do you like about it? Devs like that information because it helps them plan for future stuff as well. You can also email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media and follow us for latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place to go. I do update Google+, and I do update Facebook. The Google+ feed, I think, is broken right now. And eventually I will probably fix that if I figure out how. But there you go. See. So, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to hang out with all the new festivals and stuff. Especially I can't think of it. The Festivult's coming up. Don't forget to collect your coins. Thanks for listening.